Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Welcome to the soul of Sunday. We are Unitarian Universalists. Ours is a historic faith with a progressive theology. We affirm the worth and dignity of every being and that we are all deeply interconnected. We are bound to one another not by creed, but by covenant, and we are called to answer the call of love with open minds, open hearts, and open hands. Whoever you are, those of all nations, all creeds, all colors, all kinds of love, you are welcome here. Good morning, I'm John O'Connor, today's worship coordinator. As always, it's good to be together while apart. Please join me in welcoming our musicians and thanking our tech team leads, Art Nava and Sandy Dixon, and cinematographer Rich Abreu for making this service possible. And today, let's welcome Harlow Robinson. Harlow was a member of Arlington Street Church from 2003 to 2018, serving on the Worship Committee and the Prudential Committee. Currently, he is a member of Throp UU Church in Pasadena, California. Harlow was a professor of history at Northeastern University for 22 years and is the author of 5 books. He and his husband, Robert Hawley, were married at Arlington Street Church in 2004. For those of you who are new to Arlington Street, a very special welcome to this beloved spiritual community. We'd love to stay in touch. Please take a moment now to fill out a connection card. The link is in the chat. If you haven't already downloaded today's order of service, it's available in the chat and on the homepage at ascboston.org. All of the hymn lyrics are included in the order of service and will be posted in the chat so that we can sing together. As we continue our greetings, let's all say hello in the chat and engage in that Arlington Street spirit of welcome that transcends physical distance as we greet one another heart to heart.
Sometime in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be your living sanctuary for you.
It is now time for our treasured ritual of sharing community candles of joy and sorrow. These candles were submitted on our website by the Friday evening deadline. If you didn't submit your candle and have a joy or sorrow to share this morning, please wait until the third candle is lit, the silent candle, and then type your joy or sorrow into the chat. In addition to sharing our sorrows and joys this morning, let's reach out to one another in the week ahead, staying connected. May these times remind us how very precious this beloved community is. We need one another. Despite having to be apart, may we stay very close. And now, in the spirit of invocation, let's join in and singing Sanctuary. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be your living sanctuary for you.
Some of us come today with heavy hearts. We open our hearts to you.
From the Arlington Street Church community, a candle of sorrow for the worst flooding in decades to affect Germany and parts of Belgium, which has killed at least 125 people as search and rescue efforts for hundreds of missing continue. German officials were quick to say that global warming is at least partially to blame for the catastrophic flooding. We offer prayers for the earth and those affected by global warming. Our second candle is from Lois Hartzer, a candle of sorrow. My mother's sister went on hospice this week. She had had pneumonia and hasn't been strong enough to fight it. The timing is difficult. She was planning to come visit my mother in early August. From the Arlington Street Church community, a candle of concern. There have been approximately 4,500 breakthrough cases of COVID-19 in fully vaccinated individuals in Massachusetts due to the Delta variant, resulting in 79 deaths. These instances are extremely rare, representing less than 0.1% of the roughly 4.2 million Massachusetts residents who are fully vaccinated. Nevertheless, exercise caution and encourage your family, friends, and coworkers to get vaccinated. And finally, from the Arlington Street Church community, a candle of concern for the dreamers who came to the United States as undocumented infants and children. A federal judge in Texas on Friday invalidated portions of the DACA program, placing their future in jeopardy yet once again.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be your living sanctuary for you.
Some of us come today in joy. We share your joy.
A candle of joy from Bernd Giels, who writes, I wish to offer a candle of joy in honor of my planned trip to Germany to see my mother and to learn more about my mother's family's history. And finally, a candle of joy and thanksgiving from the Arlington Street Church community for all those who have volunteered their words of wisdom, joy, and consolation as featured speakers in our summer service program. You all rock.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
For all the sorrows and for all the joys we hold in our hearts, we light a silent candle to remember and to rejoice. May the peace of this sanctuary enter into our hearts as we share a quiet moment together, breathing our prayers for ourselves, for one another, for our country, and for the world. Amen. Please join me in saying our affirmation and covenant. It's printed in the order of service and in the chat. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak our truths in love, and to help one another.
El amor es el espíritu de nuestra congregación y el servicio es nuestro regalo. Esto es a lo que nos comprometemos, convivir en paz, hablar nuestras verdades con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come
I used to have two older brothers. Now I only have one. When my oldest brother, John, 6 years my senior, passed away at age 70 in June 2015, it felt like I was losing a finger or a limb. I got the news far away from home on vacation in Barcelona with my husband, Robert. John had been ill for a few years, and I knew he had been struggling with poor physical and psychological health. He had been in and out of hospitals in suburban Boston with heart problems and serious depression. Towards the end, he spent time in a locked ward for patients with severe cognitive and behavior issues. When I visited him there one day, he was curled in a fetal position and obviously heavily drugged. We walked up and down the corridor a few times, and I was shocked at how wan and helpless he looked. Later, he was in a rehabilitation facility and finally returned home where he needed constant care. The last time I saw him was on a sunny Martin Luther King Day when I took him out to get a hamburger at the restaurant we used to go to together in happier times. He had little energy and was so listless and lethargic. I tried to cheer him up, but didn't have much success. It was hard to see the brother I had so looked up to as a child and a teenager in such a fragile state. As the oldest brother of three, he was always the trailblazer. We didn't have any sisters, although my mother had been desperately hoping that I would be a girl she could call Nancy, but that's a story for another day. John was the first to get his driver's license, the first to graduate from high school, where he excelled as class president, outstanding athlete, gifted trumpeter, and class wit. The first to go to college, the first to go to graduate school, the first to get engaged to marry. Unfortunately, his fiancée later broke the engagement, one of the personal and professional reversals that seemed to haunt John throughout his adult life. So many firsts. Later, he would complain that my parents were easier on my other brother, Peter, and me, a frequent complaint of eldest siblings. We were allowed to get our driver's licenses as soon as we turned 16 in Connecticut, but they made him wait a while. I got back to Boston in time for the memorial service held for John in the Catholic Church he had attended with his wife and three children. Asked to make brief remarks, I paid tribute to his guidance as my big brother. When I was applying to colleges, he had given me lots of helpful advice. True, he did like to tease me. And when I announced to my family that I was gay, he found this news very difficult to accept. He didn't embrace my identity as a gay man for many years, although he did attend my wedding to Robert at Arlington Street Church in 2004 with his entire family, and even gave the traditional toast at the party afterwards. And he did manage with his wife, Judy, to raise three children, two girls and a boy, all of whom have gone on to rewarding and successful professional lives with families of their own. John's death, of course, made me much more aware of my own mortality, just as I was reaching the traditional retirement age of 65. But it was more than that. Relationships between siblings, in this case, brothers, are complicated. They are deep physical and spiritual bonds, unlike any others we have in our lives. They can be supportive, but also competitive. We came from the same mother and father, so the biological link is overwhelming. But we evolve as very different people in life, as John and I did. His life more closely resembled that of my parents, while I was always the black sheep or the prodigal son with the bohemian lifestyle. It was not easy to maintain a close relationship with him, as the realities of our lives increasingly diverged. But John was still always my big brother. You might be able in life to change romantic and marital partners or friends or jobs or where you choose to live, but you can't trade in a sibling. The bond is an enduring constant. That does not mean, however, that being a good brother or a good sister is something that happens automatically. It takes work, as I know from my own experience. Listen to the words of Maya Angelou. I don't believe an accident of birth makes people sisters or brothers. It makes them siblings, gives them mutuality of parentage. Sisterhood and brotherhood is a condition people have to work at, a condition. So, love between blood brothers and sisters is not unconditional, despite the biological imperative. Brothers can be strangers, or they can be best buddies, or something in between. It all depends, and it can change with time. Being a good brother or sister is not so different from being a good friend. And as I've learned over the years, having and keeping friends is something that you have to work at. It takes effort and thoughtfulness. The uniqueness of the bond between brothers has also given rise to the concept of brotherhood more generally. The dictionary gives a variety of definitions for the word brother, beyond the basic meaning of a male child of the same parents or of only one parent, a stepbrother. We use the word in many other contexts. It can also mean a male member of the same kinship group, nationality, or profession, as in fraternity brother or brotherhood of iron workers. It can also apply to a religious affiliation or a shared belief in a higher power, especially for a lay person. And the word brother can even apply to all members of a particular race or of the human race in general. We recognize now, of course, that the use of the word brother to mean all mankind is a glaring example of male privilege. This idea of brotherhood as fellowship is what Ludwig van Beethoven had in mind when he chose Friedrich Schiller's Ode to Joy as the choral text in the final movement of his glorious Last Symphony, the Ninth. The word brother in German Bruder appears 3 times in the poem. The most famous line, all men become brothers, was later adopted by Marxists and Leninists in support of communism, a utopian economic and political system that sought, unsuccessfully, alas, to eliminate competition and jealousy. These are the lines from the Schiller. Thy magic binds again what custom strictly divided. All people become brothers where thy gentle wing abides. In America today, the words brother and sister are also used in the Afro-American community as a statement of racial pride, community, and solidarity. You often hear white politicians using the word brother or sister to address Afro-American colleagues or audiences, hoping to establish an emotional connection and display their lack of prejudice. There are many stories about brothers in the Bible and in literature. Often they deal with the competition and jealousy that arises between male siblings, a friction that doesn't usually occur in the same way between siblings of the opposite sex or between sisters, although I might be wrong about that since I don't have sisters. Perhaps the most famous narrative is the one about Cain and Abel from the book of Genesis. Cain and Abel are the sons of Adam and Eve. They gave offerings to the Lord, Cain bringing some of what he had grown, and Abel some meat from his flock. But the Lord preferred Abel's gift and hardly recognized Cain's. Cain was so humiliated that he invited his brother out into the field and killed him in a jealous rage. When the Lord asked Cain what had happened to Abel, he replied, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord cursed Cain and sent him into permanent exile in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Am I my brother's keeper? Well, yes. As a truly spiritual person of any faith, including Unitarian Universalism, we are keepers, not only of our actual blood brothers, but of our brothers and sisters in our faith community. This is one of the fundamental tenets of any religious system, that we are responsible for and obliged to help and to value those who share our beliefs, and even those who do not share our beliefs. Another powerful tale of jealous brothers is the parable of the prodigal son from the book of Luke. Here again, 2 sons compete for the father's attention. The youngest demands and receives his share of the inheritance, which he wastes in a life of debauchery. When he returns penniless and destitute to his father's home, he is received with love, forgiveness, and even a fatted calf. The dutiful older son feels slighted, but the father soothes him, saying, "It was fitting to make merry and be glad. For this your brother was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found." The message of the prodigal son story is the need for forgiveness. Resentment and jealousy are antithetical to sincere religious conviction. When we envy others, whether siblings or friends, their apparent good fortune or their apparent preferential treatment, we forget our interconnectedness with all other humans and indulge in selfish feelings that damage our own sense of self and community. The lesson of the prodigal son story applies to all human relationships, not just those between siblings. Recently, I spent a week with my remaining brother, Peter. It had been years since we last had the opportunity to hang out and catch up. John's death had made me more aware of the importance of staying in touch. I felt guilty after John died that I had not been there for him very much in his final difficult years. We had an unfortunate and rather bitter disagreement, and were not even on speaking terms for a while. I don't want that to happen with Peter, and decided to take responsibility and action. We took walks on the beach and traded memories of our childhood and growing up together. Since I was the youngest, there were some things Peter remembered that I didn't. He remembered my grandfather, who died when I was about 2 years old. But there were other things I remembered that he had forgotten or didn't witness. It reminded me that siblings can have very different experiences of their parents and of living in the same household. Peter did a lot of the things you hope an older brother would do. He taught me how to swim and how to ride a bike. But it wasn't easy following him in the same schools 3 years behind, because he was a star athlete, senior class president, all-state clarinetist, had a tight group of friends who were the smartest and the coolest. He was popular with girls. He was a hard act to follow, especially growing up gay. I'm sure that's one of the reasons I set out to travel around the world and moved to California immediately after college. I needed some space from my family and from my high-achieving brothers. Sometimes I've even envied my friends who don't have siblings. They got all the attention from their parents and didn't have to share it with brothers or sisters. But as I've grown older, I've come to appreciate more the connection of having brothers. When our parents died, it was very reassuring to have two brothers to share the grief and loss and aftermath. You know, brothers will always be there. Well, actually, not always, as John's death has shown me. My friends, you share with them an intimate past that you share with no one else on earth. And that is a spiritual gift of enormous value and power. Amen.
Friends, our generosity continues to astound everyone. Throughout the pandemic, we have continued to pay our staff and maintain our building. Arlington Street is entirely self-sustaining. Please take a moment now to join in giving to our beloved spiritual community by filling out our virtual collection plate. You can text the word GIVE, G-I-V-E, to 617-300-0509. Scan the QR code in the order of service. Visit our homepage at ascboston.org and click on the yellow Donate Now button. Or you can even write a check and send it in to Arlington Street Church. Thank you for your generosity. After you make your gift to sustain our beloved community, please continue to share in the chat what inspires you during these difficult times. This week, as always, there's a lot going on in the Zoom room. There are gatherings for loving kindness, meditation, poetry, a tea party with our ministers, yoga, writing, and more. Please visit ascboston.org for information on everything that's going on this week. To attend any of these offerings, you don't have to be a member, you don't have to turn on your video, and you don't even have to talk if you don't want to. And best of all, it's free. Again, please visit ascboston.org for information on everything that's going on. All are always welcome. Before I turn it over to our musicians for the closing hymn, thank you to all of you who joined in today's service and to all of those who made it possible. Remember, we're all in this together.
the sun, you bring us light, oh shining round in fiery might. Oh sister moon, you hear and bless, your beauty shines in tenderness. Oh seedlings wind, you sweep to hears, your mighty breath, both freshness and fierce. Oh kindred water, you cleanse and flow through rivers and streams in ice and snow. Oh brother fire, you warm our night with all your dancing colored light. Oh sister earth, you feed all things, all bird, all creatures, all scales and wings. Oh kindred death, you meet us here and take us to our goal so near. Oh God of life, we give you praise for all your creatures, for all your ways.
Before our benediction, I invite you to reach out your hands and touch the sides of your square. Touch hands with the people to your left and to your right, and send out love to every person on either side of you and to the people on either side of them. And send out love into this beloved spiritual community and feel it coming back to you. Love is the spirit of this congregation. And now, for our benediction, I invite you to put your hands over your heart in Namaste. I bow to the divine in you. Our benediction this week is from Indian author Kalidasa's The Exhortation of the Dawn. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of our existence. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow but a vision. Let us look well, therefore, to this day. Let us keep this faith and carry it on. The service begins when the service ends. Bless your hearts. Amen.
Where you go, where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. For your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine.
please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.